The NFL playoff picture officially wrapped up this past weekend, and we have the full slate of the playoffs that are ahead of us, concluding with the AFC, where Denver, the Broncos, have officially locked up the number one seed in the conference after beating the Chargers yesterday 19-3, but the Chargers rested quarterback Justin Herbert in this game. So they really weren't expecting to win. They really didn't try to win. Otherwise, they would have played their starter because they pretty much assumed that they already had their playoff spot locked up. So they didn't really have any chance to make it or jump anybody in terms of the seeding because of the divisional race with all the other AFC teams. But Denver officially has the number one seed, so they will get a first-round bye in this one. Now, the 2 seed is my New England Patriots. I was really hoping that Denver somehow crazily lost yesterday so that the Patriots could at least compete for the number one seed, but alas, they will be playing the first round against the Los Angeles Chargers, who we were just talking about. And they pretty much steamrolled over the Miami Dolphins yesterday with a 38-10 win. And this pretty much solidified their number 2 spot in the AFC. And they will face the Chargers again on Sunday. And early indications, according to the sports books, the Patriots are a 3.5-point favorite in this one. I did expect them to be a favorite in this one. I think they can win this one. It'll be a test for people to see what they're really made of, because all the talk this year has been about their schedule and they don't play anybody, blah, blah, blah. We'll see what they're made of come playoff time. But looking to the number 3 seed, that is going to the Jacksonville Jaguars, a very surprising team in the last few years or so. Nobody really expected them to be a top 3 seed in the conference, but here we are. They rolled over the Tennessee Titans yesterday with a 41-7 win. Wasn't even close in that one. And they locked up the AFC South division. It was previously thought to be the Colts division to win, but then after a very, very hot start, I want to say they started like 8-2, they ended up missing the playoffs, which is unfathomable. And that seed and the division, the AFC South, goes to the Jaguars, and they will face the Buffalo Bills on Sunday. And then Buffalo is a very, very slight favorite in this one. They are favored by 1.5 points, but they are on the road because Jacksonville is a division winner, so they will host the Bills in this one. At least it won't be too cold, so it should be a pretty interesting matchup for Jacksonville. They won't have to go all the way up north to Buffalo, New York to brave the potential snow or anything, so at least they'll be on their home turf. I think this one will be very, very interesting to watch. The fact that Buffalo is just a 1.5 favorite in this one makes me think that this will be a very, very tightly contested matchup, although I do think Buffalo wins this game. If Jacksonville can produce how they have been in the last few weeks, because they have looked really, really solid, like they are on fire in the last few games, I think they can come away with a win, especially at home, but it'll be a very, very interesting matchup to see. I'll preview the entire slate of games this Friday on Football Friday, so be sure to tune in again and every day this week at 1 p.m. for KTAL News Now. But the number 4 seed was locked up by Pittsburgh in dramatic fashion last night on Sunday Night Football, where they picked up a win at the buzzer, essentially, with a 26-24 win over the Ravens. Now, both of these teams were fighting for that last playoff spot. Pittsburgh obviously locked up their division with the win, but Baltimore was still fighting for a spot in the playoffs. They both had, I believe, they were both 9-7, or Pittsburgh was 9-7, and then Baltimore was 8-8. And Aaron Rodgers for Pittsburgh, who is, for those of you who don't know, Aaron Rodgers is still playing, and he is the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he had a very vintage game in this one. He's 42 years old. He's very, very old now, getting up there in age. He only signed a 1-year deal with the Steelers, so really wasn't sure what his future lied ahead. But in this game, he threw for a season-high 294 passing yards and a touchdown, which was to Calvin Austin with 55 seconds left in the game to take the lead. Now, they would miss the extra point in this one, but Baltimore Ravens kicker Tyler Loop ended up missing the game-winning field goal as time expired from 44 yards out that would have put Baltimore into the playoffs. I can't imagine the amount of pressure that kid had. He's a rookie kicker. So much pressure for him to potentially send your team to the playoffs. So I hope he, as toxic as some sports fans can be on social media and stuff, just, the kid's a rookie. It's so much pressure in that game, like I keep saying. So just go easy on him. He has to keep his head up high because I believe before that kick, he was 30 of 33 on field goals this year. So pretty solid rookie year, in my opinion. But for the Ravens offense, Lamar Jackson threw for 238 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. And 2 of those touchdowns actually went to Zay Flowers, who caught 4 passes for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns. So half of his catches were touchdowns. I'd say that's pretty efficient. But for running back Derrick Henry, he rumbled his way through another 126-yard game on 20 carries, but unfortunately it was not enough to get the job done against Pittsburgh. They will face Houston, the Texans, who are a slight 3.5-point favorite in that game on Monday night. And for Houston, they just picked up a win over the Colts. They won 38-30 in a very back-and-forth game. I don't know if some of you saw it, but it was a very, very good game, and Houston ended up coming out on top in this one, and they will face the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday night. But in the NFC, it's very, very stacked in this one, in my opinion. I think whoever comes out of here will end up winning the Super Bowl, potentially, if it's not the Patriots, which I don't think it will be. But Seattle ended up locking up the number 1 seed with a 13-3, very ugly win over the San Francisco 49ers. Very defensive battle. San Fran really couldn't get anything going in this one, unfortunately, but they will face them on Saturday again. They faced San Fran on Saturday in that 13-3 win and locked up the number 1 seed, as well as the NFC West. And the number 2 seeded Chicago Bears lost to Detroit yesterday, but it really didn't matter. They still got the number 2 seed, so really didn't matter in terms of the seeding. They could have just coasted their way, and it seems like they did, but they will be facing the Green Bay Packers on Saturday, and Green Bay is a 1.5-point favorite in this one, despite it being in Chicago. This one is going to be a heavyweight fight. I mean, you have 2 division rivals going head-to-head in the playoffs in the first round. This will be must-see TV, in my opinion. But number 3, the 3rd seed in the NFC, goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, and they decided to rest Jalen Hurts, their quarterback, yesterday, and they took the chance, because at one point they had the number 2 seed in the bag, and then a loss yesterday would have dropped them to the number 3 seed, which it ended up doing. They tried to gamble and say, let's rest our quarterback in hopes that we keep the number 2 seed and hope the rest of our team is good enough to lock it up. But they did lose to the Washington Commanders 24-17, so they unfortunately dropped to the number 3 seed in the NFC. And they will face the San Francisco 49ers, and who is a 3.5-point favorite. The Eagles are 3.5-point favorites in this game. So it's going to be really, really tough for Philadelphia. They really have not looked the part, in my opinion. I mean, I know they're defending Super Bowl champions, but it's been a very up and down season for them, especially offensively. There are some games where they really could not get anything going outside of maybe Saquon Barkley, their running back. But I kind of like San Francisco in this game. I'll look more into it later on in Football Friday, like I was saying. So be sure to tune in on KTAL News Now at 1 p.m. on that day and every day this week. But the number 4 seed went to the Carolina Panthers in something that was pretty much out of their control completely, where they ended up losing to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 16-14, and that kind of jeopardized their playoff hopes for a little bit. And the only way they would have been back in is if the Atlanta Falcons took down the New Orleans Saints, which they ended up doing. And Carolina is now 8-9, division champion and automatic top 4 seed. So the fact that they have a losing record and have a top 4 seed and get to host a home game, you can't help but laugh sometimes, but it's pretty funny to look at. But they will face and host the Los Angeles Rams, who are 10.5-point favorites in this one. I think, I thought it'd be a little bit more, honestly, because the Rams have looked pretty solid all season, but that's going to be not a fun one to watch, in my opinion. So if you're a Panthers fan, good luck there. I don't know what to tell you when it comes to that.